It has been a much debated topic whether iPads are better than MacBooks or vice versa in the past over the past year or so. So today I'm going to do a video of explaining what the iPad does better than the Mac and vice versa. So let's dig in. So one thing that the iPad does do better than the Mac is it does have a touchscreen. And on Mac, I mean, you do get a touch bar, but you don't always get a touch bar. But obviously not all models have a touch bar, it's just the Airs, MacBook Pros, that have the touch bar. And the touch bar isn't even that useful since app developers don't want to optimize for it. So, and if you, I don't have my mom's Apple Pencil right here with me right now, but there is actually Apple Pencil support on the iPad, which the MacBook obviously does not have. Which means that you can, if you like doing artwork or anime or if you like actually doing some whatever that requires, or if you're a student and you want to handwrite your notes in class, then the iPad is definitely better. Because the MacBook, I mean, you can't do any of that type of stuff on there. And the iPad, one thing it does, another thing that it does better is obviously that you're not really going to need to learn too much new, since it's basically the same UI as the iPhone. As most people have used iPhones before, whereas the Mac, there is some stuff that requires learning, like using this, and also if I open up an app here, I gotta get used to a traffic light up here, and just stuff like that. But on the iPad, you don't have to bother with it or anything. And also, the iPad is also better at portability, because the iPad is obviously far better than the MacBook, because my Mac Pro here is pretty heavy, and obviously I'm using 2010 Mac Pro in this video, even though everything I say will apply to the new MacBooks too. So that's just something that you need. But the MacBook is obviously the iPad is obviously much lighter than the MacBook in terms of portability. And it can easily fit in a backpack, whereas here I actually can't really carry this in a backpack. So that's one thing the iPad does better. And I know that they have MacBook Airs out there, but the iPad's still better than the MacBook Air. And the iPad is also a little better if you want something brand new, but if you're on a budget. Because the iPad alone, plus Apple's keyboard, because really Bluetooth keyboards and cheaper keyboards aren't very good. If you have a Prime membership, they cost only $100, but otherwise it'll cost $160. So $330 for the base model iPad. Then additional $160 for the keyboard means that you would be spending. And I don't know, and cases obviously will vary and such, because even though the keyboard is a case on the front, it isn't on the back, so I had to order a separate case for the back. But that will add up to be about, I'm just gonna estimate and say 500. I'm sure it's not gonna be cost actually that much. And the base iPad comes with 32 gigabytes of storage and just Wi-Fi, which means that or hotspots, which means about 330 plus 160, $409, and of course with tax and all that's going to round up to about 500. So yeah, whereas the cheapest base model MacBooks, for the desktops you can get a Mac Mini for as low as $700, and if you're looking in their education store, I think you can get it for like $650 or something like that. And the base model MacBook Air starts at $900 in their education store and $1,000 regularly. So definitely, the iPad is definitely better on a budget. But now I'm going to go over the pros of a MacBook, With the iPad, you do have to buy an external keyboard, which I have. Whereas on a laptop, you already get the nice keyboard and such. Another thing is that MacBooks are definitely a lot better in terms of using them in the laps without lap desks. Because with an iPad, with the keyboards on here, you really have to be on a hard surface in order for it to work. However, the MacBook, again, since all the trackpads are ones you have to touch, if you're using this on a Macs on a solid surface, I definitely would recommend going and buying a mouse. And don't worry, for most Macs, mice are compatible with both PCs and Macs. But that's just one thing. So, iPads aren't really optimized for lap use compared to MacBooks. And this, of course, just applies to laptops. Desktops, obviously, have to use them on the desk. And MacBooks, however, they also do, if you need to run desktop software, like Final Cut Pro or, I don't know, although you can run Microsoft Office and all your Adobe apps on an iPad, the keyboard won't really be much of a use except for when typing documents and such, because the software isn't optimized for the keyboard. My parents are coming in and out of the doors, by the way. So software isn't optimized for the keyboard. Whereas on Macs, the software is a little more useful on the keyboard if you get any professional desktop applications. So that's one thing to keep in mind. And also with iPads, if you want to connect like flash drives and such to them, or wired mice or anything, or even wireless mice with a little receiver, or connect it to an external display or whatever, you have to buy dongles for everything. Whereas on Macs, well, at least the older Macs, the newer, you actually don't need dongles for anything. Because on this MacBook Pro, I get 2 USB ports, no USB-C, but SD card slot, typical ports for 2010. So that's one thing the MacBook does better is ports, or at least the older models. Oh, and the iPad also shines in webcam quality too. Or the Macs have good, or the new iMac has good webcam quality too. But if you can't afford either a new iPad or a new Mac, you can get them both used. But now I'm going to go over which is best and for what reasons, just to do a recap. The iPad has a back camera, which could be useful for some people, I don't know. A better quality front camera, at least compared to most MacBooks. A touchscreen, Apple Pencil support, and better portability, and is slightly better on a budget. The MacBook, however, runs desktop applications, which you might need if you want to run professional desktop software. Gives you a traditional laptop feel. You won't need as many dongles. They're easy to find used. They have bigger screens. And yeah, that's basically about it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this. And if you have any questions for my 200 subscriber special Q&A, and by the way, thank you guys so much for all the support. Please comment them down below, for I'd be happy to answer them in that special. And you can if you want to, and you can tell me down below your opinions as well. And I also have all my social media below in the description too. And as always, peace out.